For the first time since April, Atlanta United 2 are playing in the state of Georgia. They've picked up points in 5 of the last 6 and are pushing to break the top 8 in the East. If NYC get a win today, they're in the top 3 in the conference, as this MLS NEXT Pro makes its way at Turner Soccer Complex in Athens, Georgia. Hello and welcome, I'm Ryan Lee. Thanks for joining us. And this is a match with real implications in the East, as both Atlanta and New York have battled in various different ways. For Atlanta, they want to take the push into the top 8 in claiming their first ever playoff berth as a Atlanta 2 franchise. For NYCFC, the chance to get into the top 3 is insurmountable, especially with one of the top goal-scoring units in MLS NEXT Pro. However, for NYC, they have to deal with an Atlanta United squad that's trying to change some things up. Will Riley is in the midfield after missing the last 2 matches. The homegrown is in there with Torres, Tablante, and Sesak. The front 3 and the back 3 are both unchanged since the match versus the Red Bulls. However, Jaden Hibbert is back in net. In 2024, the 19th overall draft pick has played in 8 of the 11 matches for Atlanta United 2 in 2025. And for New York City FC, a lot has shifted since their 1-0 loss to New England. Seymour Reed did not play in that New England match, but he's been called upon, especially with him being top 3 in the entire league in goals. 3 guys over 22, 3 guys under 17 in that top 6 with a blend of youth and experience can create some exciting offense for Matt Pilkington's unit. Nico Cavallo makes his way in his first NEXT Pro appearance in the left back after spending 12 games in the MLS this season, and Matt Pilkington really wants to maximize his depth in net. This is the opportunity for Mac Learned to get back in. He has played in 7 of the 14 New York City FC 2 matches. However, he has struggled as of late. 13 goals allowed in the last 4 for Learned. This is an opportunity for number 70 to potentially turn things around as New York City FC 2 begin the back half of their 2025 season. As we make our way towards center pitch into the procession, Atlanta United 2, 3, and 6 to start the 2025 season. They sit at 11th in the East, but the 3 points would elevate them up to the top 8, looking for their first playoff berth in franchise history, dating back to their time in the USL Championship. And for NYCFC 2, they've started off this season on a relatively good note, despite maybe some of the numbers. 4-6-3 overall. They're 7th in the Eastern Conference, but that comes as a unit that is both top 3 in goal scoring and has the most goals allowed to NYCFC. So there's a little bit of a battle of both ends for Matt Pilkington's unit. And for Steve Cook and for Atlanta United, they've been very much in the middle of the pack statistically across the board, but what they have been able to do is push teams to the very brink. 6 games for Atlanta have gone into penalties, which is the most across MLS NEXT Pro. So they are stealing games by getting a couple points here and there, maybe getting the bonus point in some situations. And a lot of that as of late has been because they've been on the road so often. Despite the last 5 matches all being on the road, according to their schedule, their game versus Crown Legacy and in Orlando in the middle portion of May, they were listed as home games. However, the game versus Crown Legacy was played in North Carolina, and the game against Orlando that was supposed to be a home game was in Florida. So they have not played in the state of Georgia since the 23rd of August. That was a 2-2 draw where Atlanta took the extra point against Carolina Core back at Kennesaw State University. That pitch is not available, so they had to make do with what they got by making their way to Athens, Georgia. The home of the Bulldogs will be their site for their next couple of home games. They have a back-to-back. They have to go sometime mid-next week against Huntsville back here in Athens. So this will be their new home for Atlanta for the next couple of games. And it's an opportunity for them to not only get comfortable again, but maybe take some of the adversity they had from 5 consecutive road games, gaining a relatively even record. They were 500 across those 5 games, 1-0-4 during that 5-game road stretch, and taking that back home, some of the experience, the adversity they really battled through, and taking it here to Athens, not only to make a new home venue, a home away from home, but also in terms of what they've got to do in terms of their overall club history and the trajectory of this club. Dating back to their time in the USL Championship, Atlanta United 2 has never made the postseason. 3 points today launches them into the top 8. And for NYCFC, top 3 is the opportunity that they seek if they can claim the 3 points today. And a lot of this also has to do with how they've played as of late. We mentioned the loss versus the New York Red Bulls. That was the last time that Atlanta was out. That was a 1-0 game that ended a 5-game consecutive unbeaten run for Atlanta. New York City FC coming off of a loss, also 1-0 against New England. That ended 3 consecutive wins for NYC. As we make our way towards center pitch, Atlanta are in the classic 5 stripes, red and black. They will start left to right in the first half. NYC all white, right to left they go. Ryan Lee and the rest of our MLS Next Pro crew are in Athens, Georgia, on the campus of the University of Georgia, as Atlanta want to go off the gate but miss just a hair. And 15 seconds in, it didn't take long for Atlanta to try to make their stamp for Rodrigo Neri in the new home away from home. And it only took 15 seconds for Neri to give that one a go, as the striker from Miami has been called upon numerous times. He centered the front line the last several games. And his Atlanta United side are already back on it. And for Atlanta, they want to start with the ball early to really push the pace a little bit against the New York City side that they know wants to possess and build as well. Here's a chance for Neri. Took the first shot, takes another, and scores! 2 shots in 1 minute. Rodrigo Neri gets on the board first, only 1 minute in. Rodrigo Neri, he took the first shot attempt only 15 seconds into the game, missed by a smidge, and just decided he's gonna go again from the wide angle, slots it in, sits down with the Sioux, and Atlanta on the board first. In Atlanta, they've had a great run of form, especially when they get on the front foot. They have not done so very many times this season. Only 5 games of 12, if you include today, Atlanta have gotten on the board first. They are 1-0-3 across the other 4 games that they have scored first. However, of those 3, they have not necessarily had the best run in the PKs when they are forced to it, but they are getting points nonetheless. And that was something that Steve Cook really wanted to make note of, is that it only takes a couple of games here and there to get back into the top 8, into a playoff slot. And the adversity that they've dealt with, going on the road for 5 consecutive games, going to Cincinnati, to Kentucky, Huntsville. It was supposed to be a home game for Crown Legacy, but they played that one in Matthews, North Carolina, and then in Kissimmee to play in Orlando, which was listed as an Orlando home game, before making the trek to New Jersey to play the Red Bulls a week ago. And already starting out on a hot foot is NYCFC, Rodrigo Neri. You see him again creeping up on that right wing as New York try to get it out. Walker allows Tiao to use the lane. Walker and Tiao back and forth. New York City attempting to possess and build. It's something that Steve Cook acknowledged as one of the things that NYC love to do, and essentially trying to beat them in their own game in that first 2 minutes. Centering attempt, couldn't connect. You had Molinari, Muzu, and Seymour Reed all in that little jumble there. Pierre Elias swings it around. Zeitz to center, lets it go. No one to take as the strike is right on for Hibbert. Second chance is wide. Jaden Hibbert has to make his first save only 4 minutes in, and both goalkeepers, Mac Learned and Jaden Hibbert, have had to see quite a flurry of shots right out of the gate. It's a hot day in Georgia, and both teams are playing like it. Sebastiano Muzu got that last connection on the header, but missed. NYC try to get it free, but Muzu can't get it out. Eventually falls from Molinari, but not before taking a foul is NYC. That is the first decision being made by our officiating crew in the blue. Alexander Zelyakov is the center referee, Kendall McCardle and Christopher Slane, the assistant referees, and Josiah Park is the fourth official for this afternoon's game in Athens. Headed down is New York City. Atlanta trying to get it out, but it falls right for Nico Cavallo, who is a loanee from the first team. Seymour Reed centering to look for options. Cycle to Locker. NYC on the attack once more, cutting across with a shot, slowly dribbles towards Jaden Hibbert as he will scoop it up. Hibbert has not been around for the last two games, either in Orlando or in New Jersey, to play the Red Bulls. You have to go back to the middle of May against Crown Legacy in that not home game, but listed as a home game up in North Carolina against Crown Legacy. It was the last time he was out, where they took Crown Legacy all the way to PKs. They have to be on the lookout again to Atlanta. NYC building up. Julian Locker. Locker fans it out. Attempted center. No one able to connect. Seymour Reed didn't want to go offside, and that goes for another goal kick for Hibbert. A lot of what NYC is trying to do is find those connections into the middle, especially for Seymour Reed. Their top goal scorer, 7 goals, top 3 in MLS Next Pro. And a miscue by Atlanta could allow NYC to attack again. Atlanta cannot contain inside of the end line, so this is the first corner of the match. In swinger, Cavallo's tied up and can't keep it in. Now a chance for Atlanta to attack after getting the first couple opportunities in that opening 2 minutes. Moises Tablante to center, outside of the range of Learned, no one to touch it in, and this is Mac Learned's time to send it out. Mac Learned has split the reps with Alex Rando in net in 2025. Something that Matt Pilkington has not done very much of is splitting the starts between his respective goaltenders, especially with how much time Alex Rando has spent in net. 55 games across his 4 seasons, has played in over half of each of the last 3 seasons, his Rando. But for Learned, it's his opportunity, especially because Matt Pilkington has probably been more impressed with the depth of this year's goalie group versus the years past, and that has allowed him to tinker around a little more with who gets the starts and when. 7 games for Learned in his first season in MLS Next Pro, coming from Sacramento State, where he was the Mountain West leader in saves in both his junior and senior year, as Learned and NYC continue to spring forward. Offensive foul on NYC, that's Julian Locker.
Good job, Gabriel.
As mentioned earlier, Atlanta United 2, they will be in Athens for the next several games. They're not playing at Kennesaw until July to August, somewhere in that range. And they don't want to make a big deal out of the hardships due Atlanta United, but they do understand that the overall fatigue buildup of all the traveling, not training in their home base is something that really has become a struggle as of late, but is an opportunity to assess all of the guys and how they're able to grind through the adversity. And for Steve Cook and his staff, they acknowledge that it's not the worst thing in the world to happen, and it can actually make significant impact in the long term, having to deal with this before the halfway point of the season rather than later, as this long ball is corralled in by Gabriel Wisé. Wisé, top of the box. Will Riley with an assist. Almost got a chance to get the return feed. Couldn't quite get there, so the first goal is Neri from Wiley and Wynn. Riley almost got the return feed to Will Riley. However, that made contact off of an arm. Deep try, Seymour Reed, but coming out of the box is Hibbert. And eventually, Ryan Carmichael allows Atlanta to reset. Mazzaferro rainbows this one, attempting to settle it. Sesak. Sesak cuts in, gives it a go as that one took contact. That was Gabriel Wisé in front of the 6, but couldn't get it through as that jumps over for a goal kick. Gabriel Wisé, ever since getting that 1 goal, 1 assist match versus Carolina Core, where he was listed as the MLS Next Pro's Rising Star Week 7. He's really tried to take that next jump in his development for the 17-year-old academy product. 3 goals across 8 games for him, and he's been threatening to potentially double down on Atlanta's lead. that was acquired only 61 seconds into the game. Neri, the goal scorer, looking for two, and that was just outside of the range of Learned and goal. Rodrigo Neri already showing how much of a hassle he's going to be for this NYC FC defensive unit. Not only getting that early goal that ended up becoming his third of the season, but especially with some of the experiences that he's had overseas in Spain, a part of the U19 squad for Valencia. He got that first goal in the game back at the 1:01 mark. And only 15 minutes into the game, it's an 88-degree day, no chance of precipitation, and the mildest of winds at 2 miles per hour will bring us into the first hydro break. This portion of the broadcast is sponsored by Emory Healthcare. As these two make their way in, it's going to reach 90 degrees by 3 o'clock Eastern. We're at 1:21 Eastern now, so the sweltering heat will only rise. And we take a look back at this 1-0 lead for Atlanta United 2. And for the five strikes, it just started from the back forward. Just drilling it up was Ronan Wynn, and Riley allowing Neri to find the lane. He just smashes that one, going for the roof of the net. And Rodrigo Neri, goal number 3 in the season, goal number 6 in his 2-year MLS Next Pro career. And Rodrigo Neri getting on the board first for Atlanta. And for this hydro break, it allows both Matt Pilkington and Steve Cook to draw something up. And because we are going to reach temperatures north of 90, we are actually going to have hydration breaks every 15 minutes. So it's going to be the 15, the 30 halftime, and then coming out of the half, it'll go from the hour, the 75, and then end of game. So we're going to have 4 hydration breaks scattered throughout the game. And this is obviously not just because it is absolutely roasting today, but it also gives these two opportunities to get some of their feet wet, especially as we are about 2 weeks away from the summer solstice up in the northern hemisphere. Atlanta United sticking with essentially the same roster as last week's game up in New Jersey against the Bulls, having 6 guys on international duty. This one's bobbling in the box. Hibbert has to come out to punch it and scoops it in. 6 guys on international duty for Atlanta United 2. We've got Dominic Chonky, Keaton Moore, both a part of the U18s alongside of Braden Dunham. And then the U20s, we've got Luke Brennan, Noah Cobb, and we've also got Efrain Morales representing Bolivia in the World Cup qualifiers. The first couple of teams being announced that will participate in the 2026 World Cup already. Especially with some names that are new and very interesting, with Uzbekistan and Jordan gaining qualification the other day. Here's a chance for Wise to center, out of reach of Neri, and NYC dump and go. A chop down from behind and a yellow card upcoming for Atlanta. Eden Torres gets the card as Sebastiano Muzu gets taken down from behind, and I'm sure both guys not really going to complain about that one. You can see there from Torres. essentially no protest whatsoever. Continuing the cycle is this back line with Cavallo, McCamey, Murray, and Tiao, but Tiao steps up quite a bit in the offense. Molinari looks for an option as we are across 20 minutes of play. Atlanta up 1-0 from Rodrigo Neri, a minute and a second into the game. Roller for Muzu. And stopped by Moises Tablante of Atlanta. We mentioned the road stretch for Atlanta. It's also why Steve Cook called his guys a group of warriors, not only coping with a great deal of that adversity, but having it turn into results. 6 of their games have gone to PKs. 8 of their 11 have garnered points in any shape or form. Atlanta looks to start the build up. Moises Tablante can't connect on the cross with Neri. And that's held up by Cavallo as NYC look to reverse. This is NYC's first time having to travel outside of Belson Stadium since the first week of May, where they took a 4-2 loss at Chase Stadium against Inter Miami 2. But they had a good run of form, going 4 straight at home. 2-1-1, and they even got the extra point in that one game. They went to PKs. Chance to turn around. Nick Sesak goes free, centering for Neri, but out of range. Sesak looking for the setup, wanted to hit Neri down the gut, but it just wasn't there. And Sesak, maybe he could have had a chance at goal if he really wanted to, but wanted to lay it off for a guy who's been feeling it as of late, and he has already surpassed some of his season totals from a year ago. In 2024, Neri, he had 3 goals and 1 assist across 12 games. If you include today's game for Rodrigo Neri, 12 games, 3 goals, 1 assist. Only difference is we're not even halfway through the season this year. Neri put up the exact same stat line across the entirety of 2024. Here's a strip for we say, but nothing comes of it. Uriel Zeitz. Cavallo. Zeitz lets it free. Locker looks for room. And that's Mazzaferro putting him in locker. Falls right back for Elias. Centers. Zeitz can't get free. Out it goes for Atlanta. It's a foot race. Neri is first. Bodied by Max Murray. Torres, Neri in the 5 stripes. They got congested by that NYC defensive unit that has allowed the most goals in MLS Next Pro, but they look to reverse that just by staying structured, staying disciplined in what they do. And also just trying to stay coordinated. They've been beat up quite a bit, have NYC, but they have stuck with a good chunk of their unit as this one comes across, and Sesak is not quite there. This portion of the broadcast is sponsored by Gallagher. 25 minutes in, 1-0, Atlanta leads over NYC. Ryan Lee and the rest of our MLS Next Pro crew here at Turner Soccer Complex in Athens, Georgia, the home of the Georgia Bulldogs, where Atlanta will play their next string of home games, this one and their next game against Huntsville. First time in the state of Georgia since the final week of April. That's disrupted by Cavallo. Sides working together. Seymour Reed was trekking back. Here goes Reed. Nice tackle made by Javier Armas to get it free. Murray bounces it away, but it's a chance for Ryan Carmichael. Cannot drive through as Cavallo sweeps it away. Ryan Carmichael has not found that same scoring touch that he's had as a part of Inter Miami 2 last year. He had 9 goals in 25 games a year ago, if you include his assists. 15 goal contributions across those 25 games. In 11 this year, he only has 1 assist to speak of. He hasn't found that same touch since being in Atlanta, but continues to be part of the recurring starting 11 alongside his Miami teammate Sesak. Serves it in, nothing there. We say Riley wanted to lean in for Neri, not there. Reed. And Riley clips Reed down. Turnover for Atlanta. Neri back heels. Riley across. Carmichael can't let it go. And great pursuit from behind by Peter Molinari to snuff out the chance. Riley, he hesitated on the shot, wanted to center for Carmichael to give him a try at his first goal of the season, but the pursuit by the 16-year-old Peter Molinari in his second season with NYC, did not play last year. He has started in 11 of 12 this year, has Molinari from the midfield spot predominantly. And a great defensive read for Molinari to prevent Atlanta from going up 2. Atlanta in 11th, 3 points would tie them with NYC 17th in the top 8. Nice feed here for Tiao. Can he get free? Tiao bounces off one. Another. Reed drops off. Cavallo scores!
Goal NYC FC 2.
Nico Cavallo from the first team to the first goal for NYC FC. We're tied at 1. Seymour Reed had an opportunity to let that one fly, but instead drops it back. Cavallo gets into the play, something he's done quite a bit today. And from the first team to the first NYCFC goal, we're a half an hour in, seconds away from a hydro break and this game has drawn level. This game has drawn level in every way, shape, and form. 5 shots total. However, for Atlanta, only one of them has been within the pipes. For NYC, 3 of their 5 shot attempts have tested Jaden Hibbert, including the last one that's being blocked off by Cavallo. He got the go-ahead. And Cavallo, both ends of the pitch. Way to get the block in the strip. This allows Uriel Zeitz to start the attack for NYC as he hits Seymour Reed. Atlanta's got 6 guys on international duty. NYC had 4 on duty as well, but Chris Tiao, after representing Chinese Taipei, has returned to the lineup, starting in that right back spot. And then you've got Jonathan Shore representing the U19s for Team USA, and at least from the second team side of things, you have Maximo Carrizo and Drew Baera, both in the USA U17s, U18s. Here goes Atlanta, centering feed, over the head of Carmichael, we say settles. We say Torres and Sesak operate near side. We say digs it along. End to end, Tablante. Tablante's got Tiao in his face. Tablante keeps it in, looking for Neri, out by Molinari. And Atlanta will reset. Hibbert's got to watch out. Reed is smushing his way in, but gets it out for Carmichael as him and Murray go back and forth. And Carmichael has his ties to New York State. The 23-year-old from Northern Ireland played his college ball over at Hofstra, where he was an absolute standout, holding the record in Hofstra history for most goals and assists in the NCAA tournament. As this one just sputters out, and we have another hydration break coming just past the half an hour. 2 goals on the docket. After a minute 1, it was Rodrigo Neri to get the scoring started for Atlanta. NYC got the equalizer from Nico Cavallo in the 29th. As we take a look at the aforementioned Cavallo equalizer, it had that nice little solo effort there, as that allowed Tiao and Reed to find Cavallo coming in. He loops that one in just inside of the far post and gives NYC a 1-1 break, something that they have really been looking forward to, as this portion of the match is brought to you by Adidas. NYCFC, they've really dealt with a lot of the respective challenges this year, especially defensively, and some of it on their offense as well, but they've really made the most of what they've done when they are on the attacking side of things, amongst the top 5 in the league in terms of not only how many times they shoot, but how many of their shots actually get within frame. And that's been something that Matt Pilkington really spoke highly of with his unit is not necessarily that they're shy to take opportunities, but they know when the right ones are to be taken, how they can maximize every possession, and how they can turn those opportunities into goals. You have guys stepping in quite a bit. Tiao and Cavallo is that left back spot for today's game, but in the last one you had Msansa, who's not available for today, but he's also had quite a bit of contributions from the outside as well. And getting those guys on the outside working in has been something that Matt Pilkington not only loves to emphasize, but that was actually something that when we talked to Steve Cook, that was something that he wanted to watch out for. Getting those wing guys involved and those feeds into the center are going to have to be something that they're really under P's and Q's about for Atlanta defensively, especially for the Five Stripes. They are just outside of the top 10 in terms of most goals allowed. So these two units have struggled to defend at points throughout the season, but they are both very well aware of what their other strengths are. For Atlanta, they just love to fly. So you've seen NYC possess a good amount 36 minutes in, and for NYC, they have just ramped things up very slowly but very surely, ensuring a good chunk of possession, that they are lengthy when they do have it. Here's a strip for Will Riley. What a game he's had so far. Already an assist on the opening goal. Lays it across. We say 1-on-2. We say settles, shoots, blocked in front. Aiden Torres. Mazzaferro steps in. Cycle for Ronan Wynn. Sesak. Atlanta continues to hang on with it. They've had over half of the possession at 55 to this point of the match. A chance to cut inside. Tablante to serve. Too high for Carmichael. Reed and Wynn continue to fight for it. It is Reed. Reed wanted to hit the home run ball for Julian Locker, but read well by the defense of Atlanta, who continued to just go man on man at points with NYC. This head-to-head is absolutely level. 4 matches, 1 win aside, 2 games going to PKs. However, of those 2 games that went to PKs, they were both Atlanta wins. And those account for the last 2 times that these two played a season ago. First and only match in 2025 between Atlanta and New York. Pierre Elias swings it outside for Cavallo. Cavallo digs in, headers down and out for Sebastiano Muzu. A transfer Cavallo to maybe add an assist to his goal, and you just had the battle that was a pure size mismatch between Sal Mazzaferro and Sebastiano Muzu on that last 50-50 ball. The 6'1" Mazzaferro and the 5'9" Muzu. Blocked again by Mazzaferro. 2-time All-AAC defender from the South Florida Bulls. Occupies that left back spot. Atlanta just trying to get out of their own end as New York City starts the full pitch press. We say roller not quite there for Tablante. Tiao the disruption, but still for Atlanta in the final 5 minutes of the half. match versus New England snapped a 3-game winning streak for New York. 2 of them in regulation, 1 in the penalty kicks. For Atlanta United, their 1-0 loss in New Jersey against the Red Bulls ended a run of 5 straight with points, including 1 regulation win, 2 wins in the PKs, and a loss where they at least scraped together a point. Sesak goes down but gets the feed for Wise. Sesak saves it from the line. Centrally played, nothing more as McCamey gets it loose. Wise. Atlanta eventually find that individual space they were looking for. Riley. Ronan Wynn. Wynn got his first assist in his first season, gives it off to Riley. They connected to Neri, who got the first goal, going for 2, but just outside of the post. The same connection that scored goal number 1. Wynn to Riley to Neri. Just like that last play, Wynn to Riley to Neri, but cannot convert. 41 minutes in a 1-1 draw. Chris Tiao and Seymour Reed were both credited with the assists on that goal from that Cavallo goal that tied things up at 1 right around the half-an-hour mark. Reed with the deflection, maybe wanted to hit Locker, but not there.
I know. Can you put it? It's fucking hot. I like it,
No one quite able to sustain anything. Carmichael continues the cycle for Atlanta. We say looks for options. Tablante. Tablante into the box. Nice foot out by Tiao. Tablante goes down. The referees say that he was the aggressor. And Tablante not up yet. Moises Tablante, 23 years old from Venezuela, makes his way back on his feet. He was a part of that Cincinnati squad that took the #1 overall seed in the Eastern Conference a year ago. And that came off of a stint that saw him with Orlando City back in 2020, where he spent some of that time in the USL League One before Orlando made their way to Next Pro. The only player of NYC, of Atlanta United to start in all 11, now all 12 matches in this season. As this one finds near side Sesak. Final minute of the first half. Riley. Couldn't get it there, so it's Uriel Zeitz. That gives Locker some room to run, but nothing that could beat the line. 4 minutes of stoppage time expected in the first half in a 1-1 game. Nick Sesak turns on the gas. Neri out wide. Neri took his first goal from wide, goes for a second, takes a deflection, and just inches from going in for 2. But that allows Atlanta to get the first corner of the match. Rodrigo Neri, he has eyes for goal, and that deflection off of that back foot from Colin McCamey could have been disastrous for NYC, but it turns out to be a corner at best as the 4 minutes are official. We say who's been serving it up from this near side does so again on Atlanta's first corner of the match. Service. Drop it down, back to center, and nothing except Sebastiano Muzu giving Seymour Reed the lane. Reed, full sprint ahead. He awaits for help. Locker pushes in. Elias continues possession for New York. Elias and Locker. New York going with a half field press in the Atlanta end. Zeitz back for Cavallo. New York might be looking to end the half in the Atlanta half of the pitch. Muzu drops it back for McCamey. Elias from range, out of range. But it took a clip along the way, so this will be a New York corner.
Let's go. Don't let nobody in, Jaden.
Two and a half minutes in of 4 in stoppage. Pretty much once those 4 minutes were flashed up, it's been all NYC in the Atlanta end. Second corner for New York. Muzu to serve. McCamey heads it down, nothing more. Sesak says goodbye to that to Chris Tiao, who on Friday celebrated his 24th birthday. Randolph, New Jersey native in his 10th start of the season. Elias. Tiao. Back and forth on that far side. Murray up top. Cavallo to center, heads it, and right into the hands of Hibbert. Nice feed for Nico Cavallo. He is really trying to turn some things on offensively for this New York City side. He had Sebastiano Muzu all alone right around the dot, but this will be gone from Hibbert, which should end the half. That is it for the first half of play. Atlanta took the lead 61 seconds into the game from Rodrigo Neri. And just before the half an hour, Nico Cavallo tied things up. 1-1 is where we end after the first half of play. We'll come back here to Athens for the full halftime show after our break from the first half.
If I got it, then I bought it. Take a bite, 'cause I want it. And I know I got the taste for the cake. And I take what I make and I flaunt it, flaunt it. Got diamonds on my necklace. I live how I like. So looks is getting reckless. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe.
Action.
We welcome you back to Athens, Georgia. First half highlights and a look at the schedule later. But first, April Marie Aguilar makes her way to North Carolina to take a visit with U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer and North Carolina native Eddie Pope.
Thank you for joining me. I'm April Marie Aguilar here in High Point, North Carolina at the brand new state-of-the-art facility, the Go Forth Elite Performance Center with Carolina Core FC. And today I'll be speaking with a legend, Eddie Pope. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me. But I want to mention, with the club in its second season, how do you continue to push the envelope in order to achieve the desired result?
It's just working every day, working hard every day, making sure the players are working hard every day. I'm trying to make sure that we look a little bit before, a little bit beyond, the next day and the next day, try to have a little bit of a vision, setting goals that are out in front of us, trying to achieve those goals, making sure the players are achieving those goals, as well as the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm. And how does the mind of a former U.S. soccer legend translate to that of CSO?
I think just for the most part, just trying to make things better than I had them. So I'm thinking about all the little bit of pitfalls that I may have gone through, whether that's on the field or off the field, trying to make things easier for players, try to give players advice on the field. So sometimes it is putting on the cleats and going out and trying to disseminate the information that I had as a player and moving that on to them. So those are some of the major ways. And then obviously trying to perform at the best of my ability as a CSO, as sometimes a coach, but then making sure that they have something like this, a training facility where they can apply their trade.
So I'm told you're the first to arrive and the last to leave. How does that level of commitment contribute to the success of the organization?
Yeah, I think just making sure that I'm setting an example for our coaching staff and our players. Sometimes the players leave after me, sometimes they're here before me, same thing with the coaching staff. But I think that something like that can be contagious. I think it's important, especially when a club like this is in the second year. We're just getting started. So we need to make sure that at a minimum, we're working as hard as we possibly can.
And I just recently visited the National Soccer Hall of Fame, where you've been inducted. Despite that, you seem like a very, very humble individual. So how does somebody at your level stay so grounded?
For me, I think it's the game humbles you at all times. So the second that a player or anyone becomes a little bit haughty, the game will humble you. On the field sometimes, off the field sometimes, as a CSO, as a coach, where you might lose a game that you should have won. Soccer has a strange way of doing that for everyone.
And earlier today, we had the opportunity to attend practice. I saw you taking some forwards aside and, giving them some pointers. How does somebody with your experience not only instill what you know, but at the same time inspire them throughout the process?
Yeah, I think players are interesting, right? Players, obviously I was a former player. One of the things that they do pay attention to is where you've played, what you've done. So I think, we've as a coaching staff and myself, we've checked that box. Our players are very attentive. They're like sponges. They like to listen. At the MLS NEXT Pro level especially, that is a developmental league. So players are trying to develop, and it's our job to make sure that we're helping them through that process. So I try to take some of my past experiences, some of the things that I've gone through, like I was working with a forward, so I'm trying to tell him, hey, here are the things that I don't like that forwards do as a defender, and making sure that he understands those and that those are just options for him to choose from. He's not a robot, but just trying to help him unlock other defenders. And so we try to pull guys aside at times and work with them.
So that's the knowledge that you teach out on the field. What is something that you're instilling in them outside the pitch?
I think so. For us, one of the things that we do have is a player development program where we will teach them how to handle their finances. We have them, our captains and a couple of other players, going through a leadership course through a company that works with the club. Sometimes we'll do some fun things like cooking courses because they're young.
Right.
Most of them are bachelors, so to help make sure they're eating properly when they have the opportunity to cook for themselves. So we try to do some fun things off the field as well. And then I just think tactically, a lot of them are super young. The game changes so quickly that we try to sit down with them and help them understand tactically, not only just the game in general, but especially what we're trying to do.
At this point in time in your career, what is something that you ultimately hope to be remembered for?
That's a good question. I think just someone who worked hard, someone who believed in U.S. soccer, American soccer, someone who's wanted to really help grow the game here. Especially now being in the position that I'm in and helping to develop youth players and push them onward to MLS and hopefully the national team and maybe even other national teams, moving them on to Europe as well, but especially growing the game here in the United States.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Action.
Attractive. I'm hanging on like a fridge to a magnet. A jigsaw with all the right pieces. You and me, we go good together. You and I go good together. You and I, we go good together. We go good together.
Welcome back to MLS Next Pro action as we take a look ahead at the upcoming schedule. First, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so RSL star Diego Luna shares a bit of his journey this season and what he's implemented to remain mentally strong.
Right, Diego. Have a good game tonight.
Throughout this year, my performance has not been where it's supposed to be. And I think a lot of that had to do with where my head was at and the things I was dealing with. I started with a therapist. That notebook just has everything we've been working on with my therapist. It has affirmations, breathing exercises, power poses, things to just think about to get your mind in the right place. from there, it's just been good. Like, I've just felt better. I've been able to just be myself, enjoy the game more, and I think that notebook is going to continue to help me. Of course, I have my affirmations here, and I just read them in order down through the whole page, and there's not really one that, sticks out to you, but it's all just about getting your mind in the right place and realizing how blessed you are and that you're okay no matter what. I have what it takes to create the life I want. I am successful. I am talented. Money flows well in my life. I'm healthy and strong. I'm healing all areas of my life. Everything always works out for the best. Remember to stay positive. Today is a great day for success.
If I got it, then I bought it. Take a bite, 'cause I want it. And I know I got the taste for the cake. And I take what I make and I flaunt it, flaunt it. Got diamonds on my necklace. I live how I like. So looks is getting reckless. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe.
Action.
We welcome you back here to Turner Soccer Complex on the campus of University of Georgia in Athens, where we're tied at 1 between Atlanta United 2 and NYCFC 2. It's been quite a doozy of a first half, and there are more than enough highlights to go through as this nice little three-way play between Wynn, Riley, and Neri gets the first goal on the board. A minute and 1 second into the match got the game started at 1-all. New York City wanted to have their opportunity to maybe attack back, but it was thwarted by Jaden Hibbert, who has stood tall for a good chunk of this game. However, some of the guys from NYC are choosing to do it themselves. Tiao and Reed gave it back for the first teamer, Nico Cavallo, who was slotted in his MLS NEXT Pro debut after spending all that time in the MLS side of things. And Atlanta were not quite done yet. Neri, he had one already on the board. He was looking for two and got many chances. You saw that first one just go wide of the left post. This one deflected and just went wide of the right post. Then NYC, this was towards the tail end of the half with a header towards Muzu that went straight towards Jaden Hibbert for an easy denial for the 20-year-old keeper. As we make our way towards halftime stats, it is 1-all, and it's been relatively down the middle, all things considered. You know, possession's about 55% in favor of Atlanta, but you look at some of the shot metrics, it's been a lot of NYC, and you see a lot of those opportunities, but a lot of that has come on the counter press. Atlanta's been holding it a lot. NYC, the second they get their grasp on the ball, they're just turning and going right away. 9 shots on 7, 4 shots on net versus 1. And for Atlanta, if they maybe want to pull ahead, I think those 3 margins are maybe the ones to look out for between the shots on target, the shots attempted, and the number of corners. Just getting the ball towards the other end and maximizing those opportunities, making the respective goaltenders really have to sweat for it. And at least in terms of what we've got going forward, It's the weekend schedule for not only the weekend and the midweek as well. Atlanta will host Huntsville again in Athens. That's a 2-game home stretch right here at Turner Soccer Complex for NYCFC. They have got about a week or so off. They don't play until next week on the 12th, where they have to head to Columbus, and you have a bevy of games here, 2 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday, a very lengthy midweek as well in MLS Next Pro action, and a lot of these guys can move up and down the standings. And for Atlanta, not just a chance to claim a playoff spot in today's game, but to keep it going, where they host Huntsville back again in Georgia. So both Matt Pilkington and Steve Cook will stay put with their respective 11s that they brought out at the start of today's game, as it is tied at 1. And we saw some of the discrepancies in the numbers between the two sides. However, for Matt Pilkington, that was really one of the big points of emphasis coming off of that 1-0 loss versus New England. They thought that they defended relatively well, all things considered. It's just that things just didn't necessarily go their way towards the tail end of the games, and he openly acknowledged that they have been dropping points at the tail end of some of these games. You had a 0-0 draw versus New England. You get one against you in the 85th plus, and then you have this 1-goal lead very early on against Chicago Fire 2, the game before their match against New England. They were they were up ahead from the 5-minute mark all the way to the 80th plus, where they allowed 2 goals in the 80th. They had to force the equalizer in stoppage time to get that game to penalties to begin with. And for NYCFC, not conceding late and losing points has been killer for them, and getting the creativity on offense is really what they were looking for this last week during practice, is what Matt Pilkington said in his comments to us, and they have absolutely been able to do that. 9 shots attempted in a half, 4 of them have been on target, getting the equalizer from the first teamer Cavallo. It's really become something for NYC to really make the most of, and for Atlanta, it's really been about overcoming the adversity and finally just taking a breath and just letting them play their game, not having to deal with as many outside circumstances, having to have a couple of home games stripped away from them that on the rush, impromptu, had to go on the road. Finally getting a 2-game homestand, 4 home games in the next 5. You get a back-to-back at home today and over the weekend, next Wednesday versus Huntsville, before going to Miami and coming home versus the 2 Ohio teams, as Atlanta want to make the most of what can come from a level game. As we restart here in the second half, Atlanta are in the black and reds, the traditional 5 stripes. They attack right to left in the second half. NYCFC are in the old whites. They go left to right. Ryan Lee and the rest of our MLS Next Pro crew, we thank you for joining us here in Athens, Georgia, away from the traditional home of Atlanta United 2 over at Kennesaw State. "61 seconds for Neri, just under the half an hour for Cavallo, the 2 goal scorers that have put us level at 1 aside. Atlanta are unbeaten whenever they've conceded first. For NYC, hasn't necessarily been the best of it when they give the first one up, but they have needed to come back in situations, especially as we mentioned, as recently as 2 weeks ago against Chicago. They had to force one in stoppage time after conceding twice in the final 10 minutes to push that one to penalties to begin with. Muzu couldn't keep possession, so it falls for Riley. We say let's it go as Sesak comes up. Sesak drives in the box, only McCamey is there, but it stays with Atlanta. However, for NYC. They have not had as much success on the road. They've been winless in the last 5 on the road, including losses in their last 4 when away from St. John's University in Belson Stadium. 0-4-1 with a goal differential of 16-7 are NYC when they've had to travel away from the tri-state area. Driven ball for Atlanta, centering feed, back post for Carmichael, but can't tuck it in. Ryan Carmichael continues to be a little bit snake-bitten with his time in Atlanta after posting 9 goals with Inter Miami a year ago. The number 24 overall pick in the 2024 MLS Super Draft, getting selected by Inter Miami. Had the opportunity to maybe go up ahead, but the goal kick makes its way towards the Atlanta end, where New York City continued to press. Advantage played, Reed goes down, stoppage in favor of NYC. And we reset once again as our head official, Alexander Zelyaskov, is in the blue. Kendall McCardle and Christopher Slane, the assistant referees. Josiah Park is the 4th official, all wearing the blue. On the restart goes NYC. Piero Elias, Peter Molinari, they're the 2 defensive midfielders in this 4-2-3-1. Crosser goes for NYC. That one goes over the head of Tablante, and that one will go out of play off the captain Tiao. And for Moises Tablante, he's the one taking the throw in, and we had a chance to speak with him as well, and he just talked about the camaraderie that these guys have had, that it's been a little strange with the other guys in international duty, but they want to play for each other as this one's played towards center, blocked off by the Atlanta defense. Chipped up, wanted to give Neri the chance to race for it. He's got to beat out Murray. Neri wins it. Neri escaping Murray. And Neri just gets sat down by Murray, and that will go in Atlanta's favor for a corner. Rodrigo Neri has been an absolute force in this afternoon's game, and it is going to have all the makings of a mid-afternoon game. 90 degrees, essentially no chance of precipitation to speak of. Hydration breaks every 15 minutes. It's going to be a hot one as this one sizzles across. Nothing quite there. We say, bounces off his man. We say it's a center. No one to claim it. Second try. Off of a man in front. That's Murray with the header. Punched out by Learned. Still hanging on is Atlanta. Tablante supports the back. Punches it across for Carmichael. And it jumps up into the hands of Learned. This is Max Learned's first game since the first week of May, where he was unable to stop any of the 4 shots that Inter Miami 2 threw at him, resulting in a 4-2 loss for NYC in that match back on the 4th. That was the last time that NYC were on the road. And for Learned, it's been a struggle for him since reclaiming the net after a great start. Only 1 goal allowed across the first 2 starts for Learned, but he's allowed 13 goals in the last 4. If you include today, that's 14 goals in the last 5 for Max Learned in terms of goals allowed. So he's trying to use this as an opportunity to turn things around, especially because Matt Pilkington believes in the depth of his net. Here's a chance for NYC as they spring in. Cavallo to cross, nothing there. Uriel Zeitz keeps it alive. Zeitz across. Locker is not available, but he does corral it. Locker crosses, blocked. And that's banged up and out from Matafero. And again by Carmichael. NYC cycle it around, and they love to really get everyone involved in the play, having the most passes and their top 3 in terms of assists. As this one shot across, Muzu, did it take a clip off an Atlanta defender? It did. Third of the match on the corner for NYC. First of the half. Going short, Julian Locker elevates, as does Jaden Hibbert. The ex-UConn Husky coming in to make the play, making his way up to the number 19th overall draft pick in the 2024 MLS Super Draft from UConn. However, he spent a little bit of time in the USL Championship first with Birmingham Legion before coming to Next Pro, where he is in his 28th appearance. Elias off the turnover, centers, Muzu turns around, couldn't get all of it. Locker's in the mix, still down. Who's got it? And we're going to the dot. We are going to the dot, 10 minutes into the second half. Muzu with a swing, that couldn't be cleared by Armas, who had the fumble. And then you had Armas and Locker tangled up right on the penalty spot. This allows the chance for Seymour Reed to step in on Jaden Hibbert. Seymour Reed, 17 years old. His 7 goals are third in MLS Next Pro, going up against the 20-year-old UConn Husky, Jaden Hibbert. Reed on Hibbert, 10 minutes into the second half. Seymour Reed steps up, got it. NYC with their first lead of the game, 10 minutes into the second half. Seymour Reed steps up from the spot.
Goal scored by number 74, Seymour Reed.
Both Reed and Hibbert went to their respective rights. Makes that PK too easy for Seymour Reed. And he got an assist on that Cavallo goal. He's got a goal as well from the dot. And for Reed, that puts him at 8 on the season. And NYC have a 2-1 lead on Atlanta United 2. Someone who Matt Pilkington said is absolutely relentless on the practice pitch. Someone that he loves to coach because he wants to get as much of a detailed breakdown of his game as possible. And that development has only blossomed into what he's become in MLS Next Pro. 8 goals. It was third in MLS Next Pro going into the weekend. It's still in the top 3. We are 4 minutes away from the next hydration break. They're coming every 15 minutes on a 90-degree day. Minimal wind to speak of. Mazzaferro Armas and Win. On that back line, continuing the cycle, Tablante up the lane for Carmichael as he makes a pivot. Mazzaferro from Carmichael. We say, looks for an option. Tablante wanted to go back for Carmichael. He does. Carmichael to center. Tablante stopped by Learned. Still loose. Backhand. Learned keeps it out and keeps NYC lead alive. This is a great chance for Atlanta United. They got chances galore as that first chance was off of Learned. The try up in front, Learned had to dive out as well. And you've got a man, Max Murray, who is down and trying to stretch things out. It is such a sweltering day. It is absolutely poaching here in Athens, Georgia. Got Max Murray, the 23-year-old from Vermont, who finally makes his way up. As this portion of the match is brought to you by Emory Healthcare. We're asking Murray to take a spot on the sideline, and speaking of healthcare, the medical staff makes their way to look at Max Murray. Who's quite a decorated player with Vermont. A lot of what's been made about that team in the 2024 run to the national title, where he spent 4 years in Vermont. He predominantly plays as a first-team guy, but has played across every game with the second team.
We will now have a water break.
And what time better than any to utilize the hydration break between Atlanta and NYC as Max Murray gets looked at. In a 2-1 game, NYC took the lead 10 minutes coming out of the half off a penalty kick by Seymour Reed. As we take a look at how we got to the NYC lead, it was a bit of a jumble up right in front of the penalty box. You had the little hip check by Mazzaferro that took Walker down, and then Seymour Reed. No mistake from the dot. Give him a goal and an assist in today's game. And he has been so stellar for Matt Pilkington and this NYCFC unit. However, he has had his ups and downs with opportunities with the first team to be on the bench and chances to play with the second team. He only played in 3 of 4 in March, did Seymour Reed. Only played one of the 4 games in April, and then he played in 3 of the 5 in May because he had stints with the first team, did Reed. So he's been in and out of the lineup because of stints with the first team as Max Murray makes his way out. So with the possibility of some cramping perhaps, it's so easy to lose hydration in a scenario like this. And the 4th official, Josiah Clark, ready to come in. And this is the time that Steve Cook will use to make his first sub. Matt Pilkington likely to make one as well. As you see the officials confer, and we have the first sub up on the board officially made. Ryan Carmichael is out at the opposite end of the hydration break, with Patrick Weah coming in, the 21-year-old from Liberia. Spent the last 4 seasons with his contract in the Minnesota United ecosystem, but spent the last couple of years on loan in Norway with Tulsa in the USL Championship, with Sacramento as well. And that all came after spending some time with St. Louis in the Atlantic 10 in his NCAA career. So that allows Patrick Weah to come in favor of Carmichael. And they're also trying to organize the substitutions as well for NYCFC. You see Luka Suniek standing right next to the fourth official. And there it is. You've got Suniek in as well, coming off the hydration break.
Entering the game for NYCFC 2, number 72, Luka Suniek, and number 77, Jonathan Lopez.
Jonathan Lopez will also enter into the game, a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old in Suniek and Lopez. Jonathan Lopez coming from the University of Manhattan, where he was a 2023 third-team All-MAC. Then for Luka Suniek, first season, 7 appearances, all off the bench, launched by Hibbert. Got the takedown to the center circle. That'll be a booking against NYC. And only seconds after coming to the game, Jonathan Lopez gets his yellow card. There's a takedown from behind. There goes Lopez. So just about 2 minutes after Jonathan Lopez comes into the game, he gets booked. A chance to spring free. Seymour Reed looking for 2. Seymour Reed chips it in. He gets 2. NYC's got 3 straight.
Scored by number 74, Seymour Reed.
Seymour Reed, have yourself a day. 2 goals and an assist. Gets the chip over Hibbert, and he is tied for the second most goals in MLS Next Pro with Yu Sukanome of Tacoma Defiance with his 2 goals that launches him from 7 goals going in, 9 goals now for Seymour Reed. And how dynamic has he been, stepping up, ice in his veins on the PK spot, and took the goalie 1v1 and went with the chip. Only 1 goal for Seymour Reed to tie the leader in MLS Next Pro. They'll have to go to the Great White North to find that one. Nelson Pierre of the Vancouver Whitecaps, 10 goals in 12 games for Pierre. That is what it requires for the league lead in goals. It's not like last year where David Pareba of Chicago Fire 2, he kind of held on to it and continued to keep everyone else in MLS Next Pro at an arm's length. Now with this brace from Seymour Reed, brace for impact, because before you know it, Reed could be eyeing that #1 slot in the league. Pierre Elias credited with the assist as the bobble back and forth. Atlanta can't quite possess. Sesak. That one was just dribbling off of Wynn, but eventually goes out of bounds. And just as Atlanta was looking for the card, that is it. So coming off of the bench and into the book, both Lucas Sunic and Jonathan Lopez, they haven't even been on the pitch for longer than 5 minutes, either of them. That substitute for Lopez and Sunic in favor of Murray and Locker was in the 62nd. We just passed the 67th. Approaching 68th now. NYCFC, they have also never won when coming down to Georgia. There was a 0-0 draw and a 4-2 loss that they came in their 2 trips down to Atlanta. And for NYC, they want to maximize all of it, not just because it's an opportunity for them to get to the 20-point mark that currently puts them in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference as it stands, but also because they have the most matches played of anyone across MLS Next Pro. So they have to try to create as much wiggle room as possible now to prevent anyone from potentially catching up with games in hand going forward. Here's going forward for NYC's. It's dropped off for Cavallo. Cavallo, top of the box, drops it off. Seymour Reed, back heels, wanted Uriel Zeitz, but not there. Tiao and Reed combine for the strip. And that allows Molinari to retreat and reset. Reed has got a lane, doesn't use it. Now he will. Seymour Reed couldn't get past Moises Tablante as he takes possession back for Atlanta. Tablante centers with Neri. Scored the opening goal for Atlanta a minute and a second in. He wanted to hit his man, but cannot quite do so as he had some guys in offsides positions. So this will come back for Torres and Riley as they cycle around for Wisey. Sesak and Wisey both on that far end. The same way that NYC has held offensive half pressure, Atlanta trying to do the same. And Zeitz goes down, Mazzaferro from behind. This is an opportunity for Atlanta to make their second substitution as Seamus Streelman will make his MLS Next Pro debut as Aiden Torres in his yellow card will go onto the bench. Streelman, 18 years old from the Atlanta Academy, set to make his way up the border of Georgia to South Carolina, where he will play with the Clemson Tigers in 2025 once the fall semester begins. Second substitution and window utilized by Steve Cook.
Substitution for Atlanta United 2, entering Seamus Streelman, number 71, for number 23, Aiden Torres.
Atlanta's had a couple of those chances where it bounces in the vicinity of someone, but bad bounces just have not gone their way. NYC look to continue. just tightening the vice grip they have on this game so far, especially in the second half. Moises Tablante up the gaunt, plays it out wide. Neri gets two! Brace for brace! Reed and Neri and Atlanta are within one. You had Chris Tiao, who thought that Neri was offside, but was able to spot it. And Neri has been absolutely cooking, especially on that far sideline, on that right edge of the box to bury it for two. And for Rodrigo Neri and Seymour Reed, a brace aside, we might be seeing some individual forward Herculean efforts between Reed and Neri. Almost turned over by Tablante inside of 20 yards of the NYC end. And there's the strip by the ex-Stanford Cardinal, Will Riley. Way up. Way up, powers across, gets the foul, and likely a booking. There's Sebastiano Muzu. Weah just trying to overpower the entire defensive unit for NYCFC, and Muzu will draw the yellow card in the 74th minute. After a 73rd minute equalizer by Rodrigo Neri. Javier Armas. Does he look for the go-ahead? Free kick for Atlanta, chance to equalize. Javier Armas towards goal, and a nice catch against the chest of McLearned. Right into the arms of Learned. This portion of the broadcast is sponsored by Gallagher. Deep ball tried for Reed. Rainbows its way towards Zeitz. Zeitz trying to get free from Streelman. Streelman bouncing off defenders, but so does the ball. And had two guys who were pretzeled up right in front of the bench area. So this will result in a stoppage, and the signal in favor of NYC. Steve Cook very unpleased about that decision.
You can hardly stand up, bro. You ain't got nothing left. Lopez, you look tired.
Muzu, wide angle, not there, offside. And we have just passed 75 minutes. We are getting ready for another hydration break. And in the last 15 minutes, this game has busted wide open. The last time we were on break, it was 2-1. Seymour Reed got the go-ahead, but goals on both ends of the pitch have allowed this scoreline to balloon up to 3-2, NYC leading Atlanta United 2 on the campus of the Georgia Bulldogs as we take our look at the 2 goals that's coming up in a minute, but a real opportunity for both sides to really put their stamp on this game. NYCFC look to jump into the top 3 of the East. Atlanta looking to jump into the top 8 above the playoff line. As we take a look at the 2 aforementioned goals, between the last hydro breaks, Reed just slips through the defenders, got the 1v1 with Hibbert, and got the chip in as he got his brace coming off of a goal and an assist. And then the other way, you had Rodrigo Neri off of the feed from Tablante as he got the angle on the wide side, and that allowed Atlanta to come back within 1. Those goals came at the 65th and 73rd, respectively. Reed's goal assisted by Elias. And Neri's goal assisted by Tablante. This portion of the broadcast is sponsored by Adidas. Tablante assisted on that secondary goal. Nice tackle there by Tiao, who got one of the 2 assists on the opening goal from Cavallo. This one's a long ball towards Seymour Reed. Cannot maximize the lane as a bounce goes right towards Sal Mazzaferro. Long ball for Wise. Chance to equalize for Atlanta. In front, Tablante drops it back. Neri can't get the hat trick. Slow roller towards McLearned. Tablante dropped Tiao on the shoulder to shoulder. A nice turnaround for Seymour Reed as he opens up space. Reed's got options, plays it out, cutting inside, back for Muzu. Muzu goes back for Elias instead. Back and forth, nothing goes. Nice keep-in on that far side by Muzu to glance it off of the defender to force an NYC corner. 2 for each half for NYC. But as we approach the final 10 minutes, their window to equalize has shortened for Atlanta. NYC an opportunity to double down on the lead. They've already done so once when it was 3-1 before Atlanta got one back. Outswinger, headed up and over. A chance for Colin McCamey to get his 2nd goal, and he cannot do so as it will be sent out by Hibbert. A Nice try for Colin McCamey to beat out his man. That was Armas who he was up against. The center back from Spain and the center back from Raleigh, North Carolina. Neri up the sideline. We say, does he stay onside? Crosses for Weah, too high for him. Uriel Zeitz barreled from behind by Tablante and will draw the foul. And he just pointed to Tablante. That's 3 strikes, and here's the booking. Tablante has absolutely thrown his body around at certain points. Right there from behind on Zeitz. And right there, 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're booked in this ball game in Georgia. And now you got the man down on the pitch. We've already utilized the final hydration break of this game about 8 minutes ago, and this one relatively impromptu by NYC right outside of Learned's box as Zeitz gets his way back on his feet. And we already saw Max Murray come out earlier after a collision. And that was right before the hydration break at the hour. You have the combination of potential injury with risk and a bit of a hydration issue, possibly cramping, especially in a 89-degree day. We're approaching 3 o'clock where it's expected to be over 90. And this afternoon's game was actually pushed up to a 4 o'clock kickoff start, but there was projected to be inclement weather throughout the entire state of Georgia throughout the late afternoon into the early evening. That gave them an opportunity to push the game up 3 hours into a 1 p.m. kickoff. And for Atlanta, they have not won or lost multiple games consecutively in regulation. Only one time this season have they had 2 games end in regulation. That was in the first 2 weeks of April. A win versus Miami and a loss versus Philadelphia in back-to-back weeks. Every other string of games has had at least a draw in the mix, including a string of 4 straight between August and May, and a string of 2 straight that went to the dots in March. So Zeitz, after the collision, will make his exit. And there will also be an opportunity for Matt Pilkington to take his 3rd and 4th subs into the game at the 85, now 86 mark. Pierre Infuso will come in as Nico Cavallo, one of the 2 goal scorers, comes out. Infuso, 22 years old, from Merrick, New York. Him and Ryan Carmichael had some intersection over at Hofstra. And then you also have David Duque coming out for Uriel Zeitz, who was down in that last sequence. And for Duque, this is his first MLS Next Pro action, or any professional action, since September of 2023 in a match against Philadelphia Union, where he came off of the bench, did not play any other game in that 2023 season, did not play a game in the 2022 season, and this is his first game back for Duque since 2.5 years ago. Weah has to push forward. beat out Lopez. Weah still on the attack. Tablante now takes Lopez down, already on a yellow. And now we got Jonathan Lopez down. As you just see this last opportunity here, just, yeah, a little bit of that hip on hip from Tablante. Already on a yellow. No extra yellow coming out of the pocket of the official. And then you have another NYC player down at the center circle, so some of this potential heat, exhaustion, getting into the heads and bodies of some of these players and the officiating crew. As you can see, our center official trying to sneak in a sip as well. They've been working hard, this officiating crew. They have really forced the issue in a couple of times. As Elias, he went for the header, just went down awkwardly. That's a non-contacting there. Once again, cramping most likely a possibility. This will force Matt Pilkington into his 5th and final substitution, as this will allow Leo Guarino to come in for Piero Elias. Elias got the assist on that 3rd goal that allowed Reed to get his 2nd and also allowed Reed to jump into the top 2 in MLS Next Pro. And for Leo Guarino, 22 years old from East Rockaway, New York, has spent the only the 2024 season with Boston College, where he transferred in his first 3 years after being with Wake Forest. In his first pro season with NYCFC. And now you've got some contact right near the center dot. This one, Atlanta will take. We say feeds it along, crossing chance, Tablante settles, looks for a lane, Tablante shoots, and a nice block sliding by NYC, it's Infuso. Deep try, blocked again, we say to chase. .50-50 ball in the box, back up top it goes. Streelman couldn't get the strike. Back into the box again. No one to settle. Taken down, but that is against Atlanta. Lopez is down again after just getting looked at by the medical staff. This time he springs right back up on his feet.
The 4th official has indicated 14 minutes of added time.
And we are going to be well into the hundreds. Or at least in terms of major soccer tournament jargon, this will be the first half of extras. 14 minutes on the book. We're going to be well past 100, maybe into the 105s. But a chance for New York City to either increase their lead or for Atlanta to tie and force PKs for an MLS Next Pro leading 6th, potentially 7th time if they can get it done, as the centering feed comes for Armas as he steps in. Armas looks for options, back for Tablante. Tablante returns, Weah can't escape. Kept in by Streelman. Armas surveys. Across, Sesak scoops in the box, too low for Weah. Tablante is first, leaves it behind, wanted it for Riley. Riley and Tablante fight for the ball. Neri gets it free, but eventually cleared by NYC. Right into the wall, throw in Atlanta. Five Stripes have to lock into fifth gear for the next 13 minutes. Centering feed, nothing for Weah. Mazzaferro and Streelman scoops it to center. Too high for Weah, but too late for Weah. And for Steve Cook, maybe a little hesitant to reach into the bench as Patrick Weah, he was the only one of the 7 substitutes that going into today had any games played in MLS Next Pro. Everyone else, including Seamus Streelman, has not played in their first MLS Next Pro game yet. You have Isaiah Vicente, who has played in 1 game. That was the last game versus the New York Red Bulls, but that's really it. No one else has that significant experience to speak of versus what Matt Pilkington and his substitutes have done. 4 of the 5 have had at least 1 appearance this year. If you include Duque, all 5 of his subs have had MLS Next Pro experience. So we'll have to see what they can muster up trying to defend Atlanta as they get a set piece just outside of the area, 3 minutes in of 14. Atlanta down 1, look to equalize. Tablante to serve, only white jerseys in the way. Weah and Sesak continue possession for Atlanta. This one served in, header, and a great swat out by McLearned. Corner for Atlanta. This was a great service by Sesak, an even better header by Mazzaferro. Already a goal on the season for him. And the corner coming for Atlanta. They have 2 in this half, 1 in the first half. Couldn't find the feed up the gut. Sprinting the other way is NYC as David Duque slows it down, wanted to hit Reed on a breakaway pass for a potential hat trick, but Atlanta was back quickly. Here's Will Riley. 5 deep of 14. Hydration breaks and cramping have done stoppage no favors, as that is way too far out of reach of Javier Armas. McLearned has come up huge with a couple of big saves in his first season professionally after leading the Mountain West in saves as a junior and as a senior with Sacramento State. Launches this one deep. Last off Atlanta. And you've got a hobbling Nick Sesak after that one.
Come on, it's a foul throw.
30 total shots, 13 total shots on target. Tablante starts the attack for Atlanta. Weah's got a lane, Learned comes out. Who touched it last as it trickles across the end line? They say Weah got final contact. And Learned being aggressive on Weah to push what became a goal kick. And when you're a goalie in that spot, you know you're taking a risk coming out of the box that far. We saw it earlier from Jaden Hibbert. He had it chipped over him by Seymour Reed, and for Learned, he just had to eat that contact from Patrick Weah. And not a small body either. 6'1", 183, coming full steam ahead right at you. As Learned, that one goes straight into the scorer's table and puts Atlanta back in business. 7 minutes down of 14. 2-3. Atlanta is down after scoring the first goal in the opening minute and 1 second. New York got 3 straight. Atlanta got 1 back, both of them from Rodrigo Neri. Mazzaferro gets it back from Streelman. Wynn steps up with Weesay. And you reset to that back line with Mazzaferro and Wynn. Streelman fans out. Armas steps up, goes for the scoop, 50-50. Ball punched out by Learned. Another throw and upcoming for the Five Stripes. Rewind, do it again. High for Javier Armas. Mazzaferro. Across the green, Neri. Sasak on the wing. 8 down, 6 to go of stoppage, second half. Seymour Reed a brace, Rodrigo Neri a brace. This one from distance, just missed the net. What a try from Gabriel Weesay. He has been so dynamic for this Atlanta United 2 squad. He has really made an impact in his first season. 9 appearances, 6 starts, 3 goals across those 9 games. Tablante maintains possession for Atlanta. Mazzaferro was entangled with Reed, so that allows Atlanta to get back on the front foot. Tablante, Weah races out his defender. He's got Streelman and Tablante, does Weah. Tablante's where he'll go. Centering feed out of range of Armas, and a chance to gallop ahead for Lucas Sunyik. Sunyik, a substitute, back at the hour mark, and he could not keep that in play. Atlanta taking a lot of swings from distance. 8 of their 19 shot attempts were outside of the box. For New York City, they're keeping things compact. 10 of 12 of their shots were inside. And that might be the philosophy for NYC as we cross the 100. Tablante back for Streelman. He's got a lane, hesitates to go, looks to escape. Up for grabs, Neri goes down, no call, McCamey clears. Moises Tablante. Riley. Tablante again to serve, back post, too high for Neri. Goal kick, Learned. And the center official pulled out a yellow card. Atlanta's gonna make a change as well.
Entering the game for Atlanta United 2, number 78, Isa Vicente, or number 77.
So Rodrigo Neri, after a brace, he is going to be done after 102 minutes of play. That allows Isaiah Vicente to come in, who made his MLS Next Pro debut last week against the Red Bulls. For the 17-year-old who is an international for his home country of Puerto Rico at the U17 level. Tablante to center. Headed out by NYC, still up for grabs. And the push from behind by Mazzaferro will give New York some breathing room as we are 12 minutes through of the 14 in stoppage. NYC, if the result holds, 20 points on the board would put them in third in MLS Next Pro's Eastern Conference. Both teams looking to prevent 2 straight losses, both coming off of 1-0 losses. As this is sent towards center. Weah with a tug. It's a lane for Tablante. Tablante might have a breakaway, but Lopez in pursuit. Taken down from behind. Is that in the box or is it just outside? Doesn't matter what it is. It's a second yellow card for Jonathan Lopez. He is done.
NYCFC number 77, Jonathan Lopez just picked up his second yellow card and has been disqualified from this match.
So Jonathan Lopez got a clip of Tablante from behind, trying to make the run. 90 plus 13. As you see, Sesak and Lopez. Couple of rams going at each other is Lopez as he exits. And the yellow card for Sesak as well for that last interaction. And that is about as close to not being in the box as you can get. Javier Armas, we are past 14. This is likely Atlanta's last chance to tie. Javier Armas stands over it. We're past 14. Atlanta, a chance to tie. Javier Armas, back post, punched out by Learned. And that will do it. NYCFC come back after a goal down to take this one 3-1 on the road. And Seymour Reed on his back with a brace. As we get ready to represent our player of the match, Seymour Reed, number 2 in MLS Next Pro in goals. He assisted on the opening goal by Cavallo, got a goal from the dot, and then the chip shot on the breakaway to make it 3-1. That made it out of reach for Atlanta to stage a comeback. And for Reed and NYC, what an absolute tumultuous game, just as hot as it is in Georgia, with as much tenacity and grit as the Bulldogs across the board. As we exit from the University of Georgia and Turner Soccer Complex, you can watch all of MLS Next Pro all season long on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV and right here on MLSNextPro.com. NYCFC beat Atlanta 3-2 on the road. For our entire MLS Next Pro crew, my name is Ryan Lee. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.